Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by the Buick LaCrosse, a luxury sedan available at your local Buick dealer. Experience Buick.
Ball from Castro, and I'm safe. Oh man, Messi struck him up. Ryan Cabot. That one is gone. Johnny Bonell racing around baseline. Fastball in the air to right field. This one hit deep. Miller heading back, watching it fly, and Perez has given the Squirrels the finale.
Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to Flying Squirrels Insider. I'm your host, Jon Laaser, joined in a moment by my co-host, Jay Burnham, and Sports Radio 910's Wes McElroy. Well, it's no secret that the Flying Squirrels have been struggling mightily in the recent weeks. In fact, enduring the roughest month in franchise history. So today, we brighten your baseball spirits with bright spots to look ahead to over the final month of the year. Plus, we take you behind the scenes on game day at the Diamond and show you just what goes into getting the ballpark ready for thousands of fans to enjoy each and every night. And Flying Squirrels second baseman Joe Panik joins me on FSI Field and shows you how you can make the play up the middle. It's another busy installment of FSI, but it pales in comparison to the hustle and bustle of game day at the Diamond. It might look simple from the stands, and that's by design. But today we invite you to join the front office of the Flying Squirrels to see if you have what it takes to work in minor league baseball.
Hey Squirrels fans, I'm Nan, media intern of Jon Laaser and Jay Burnham, and today we're going to take a look at what goes on at the Diamond on game day. We'll show you the team behind the team, and you'll see what some of your favorite staffers are up to. Right now the concourse is pretty empty, but once the gates open at about 4:30, we'll have plenty of Squirrels fans in here. We're going to go take a look around the various offices here at the Diamond and get you some great insider knowledge about what goes on here on game day.
Perfect. Who is first in line over here?
This is one of our Chevy youth baseball clinics that we host here. We have 4 total. This is actually the 4th one this season. We have our players coaching the whole clinic, so I helped with all the registration, getting the kids all set up. Chevy gives them all t-shirts, and we provide lunch for them.
Guys have fun doing that right there? Yeah. Baseball's fun. I know those are drills. We try to make them as fun as we can, have a little competition, hopefully bring out the best in you. You guys did awesome. Reviewing real quick, fielding your ground ball, what are the things? Hopefully there's about 5 or 6 you can remember that we talked about. Butt down. Your butt down, good. Knees bent. Keep in front. Alligator. Keep your glove on the ground. Awesome. You guys are great. You're going to be hitting next.
Normal game day in the morning is kind of doing some sales calls, getting ready for the evening game, and then sometime around 2 or 3 o'clock heading out to the stadium and setting up the sponsor signs, checking to make sure all the PA reads are done, checking with the sponsor of the evening for first pitches and all that kind of good stuff.
We uncover the mound of the plate, make sure that the dirt underneath has got the perfect moisture content for the game that night. We come out and mow. Every day there's a game day, we mow. After lunch we come out, we set up batting practice, we set up all the screens, all the turf protectors. We water the dirt again, put the bases out. Both teams take batting practice. We come out an hour before the game, break everything down, and then we get the field ready for the game, from re-dragging the dirt, making sure the mound and the plate are groomed perfectly, we're laying down the lines, and we're watering again. Once the game is done, then we come back out, we drag the dirt again, get those back to flush, get those back to the Major League Baseball standards, and then we go home, and we do it all over again the next day.
Right now I'm doing my little run through to make sure that everything's pretty much set up and ready to go. We'll head into Suite 1, SunTrust. As you can see, the suite attendant came in and made sure, the programs are set up really nicely and that, we have the TVs on, ready to go. Chafing dishes, sternos lit, food's just ready to come in. We have there's nothing in there, never mind. Sometimes there's drinks in there, sometimes there's not, depending if they pre-order.
10 first pitches, 6 concourse tables, the pregame princess party in the ORC Pavilion, along with the pregame princess and night parade at 5:30. 3 Field of Dreams teams in the banquet bath. We will have Mallory Burkett singing God Bless America during the 7th inning stretch.
There you go, Prince Costume. Have fun, guys.
You're a prince. That's pretty cool.
Day in Squirrels catering history was this year. We had about 850 people in the 2 all-you-can-eat buffet areas, as well as we had one of the heaviest days in the suites. Period. We had food in 13 of the 15 suites. On average, it's on about 10 to 12 suites get food. We had food in 13, and then I ran out of pans. I ran out of utensils. I was pulling my hair out.
What I cook is the jumbo dogs and the hot dog. But I have cooked the burgers as well, the grilled chicken and the turkey burgers.
Every home run by Christmas Morning Squirrels is the sign of the season. Wells Fargo has a donation to Friends Association of Children for a total donation of up to $5,000. Visit your local branch with the Wells Fargo downtown to find out more.
And welcome back to FSI. I bet you had no idea how much went into putting on a ball game at the Diamond, and I know you have no idea how difficult it is to put on Flying Squirrels Insider, namely making sure these guys are here on time. Jay Burnham and Wes McElroy from Sports Radio 910 join me in just a second. But first, each and every episode, we ask that you text FSI to 44544, and we're going to hook you up with some Flying Squirrels stuff. You're running out of time in this season, by the way. And also, pleased to be joined by a Buick Enclave. It's also the biggest contributor to the show, courtesy of our friends at the Richmond area Buick GMC dealers. All right, guys, we had to waste that time because we don't want to talk about what has transpired for this team over the summer months of the season. Jay, it's been somewhat of an epic collapse.
Yeah, it's been a struggle for this team, and there's no doubt about that. And every guy will admit that it's been a frustrating set of ball games for the Squirrels over the last now month, maybe even month and a half, including a 7-game losing streak. And I guess to boil it down to its simplest terms of what's been such a struggle and lack of strength for this team has been pitching with a lot of guys on base. They've pitched to nearly a 2 whip over the last month or so, and that means each and every inning you've got at least 1 or 2 base runners aboard. When that happens, a lot of things can go wrong.
And when you talk about that, Wes, I think when we say base runners, everyone immediately says, well, the pitching's struggling. But unfortunately, that's led to everybody struggling.
It has, because you overcompensate. When you get in these games from an offensive angle, even just from a catching standpoint on defense, pitching, and then you turn it over to the offense, you get in an early hole, your guys are trying to do too much. They're getting out of their rhythm. And baseball players, they know they will fail more than they succeed. But after you compound it after day, where you get into a funk like this, you get into what they call a quicksand effect, where you're trying to do too much, where you're trying to do more, and the more you do, the lower you sink.
2 weeks ago and 2 shows ago, we rushed out of here to get over to Tiffany's for a ring sizing as the Squirrels were riding high in first place atop the Western Division by 3 games. They were playing their best baseball of the season, and in fact, they've turned it around to some degree, but still you feel that sting, Jay, of an 8-27 stretch for this ball club where they fell from 3 games up and in first place to last place and 10.5 games back.
Yeah, and now we're starting to see a bounce back for this team. They went up to Binghamton, which is the best team of the Eastern League in the Eastern Division. They've run away with that division. The Squirrels taking 2 out of 3 against the Binghamton Mets, and then coming home against a tough Bowie Bay Sox team that they lost 5 consecutive ball games to in the month of July. Well, now taking the opener of that series. So you're starting to see some of these things come back around, and to Wes's point, you feel like that failures compound on top of one another. Well, once you get the successes to do so, it can go the other way, and I think this team is heading in that direction.
My mom always told me, however, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. She had a number of other cliched sayings that I ignored for the most part, but I think that we need to use it today. There are some bright spots. As Jay just pointed out, Squirrels have won 3 ball games in a row, potentially turning it around, and they're doing so with the arrival of a new wave of pitching talent from San Jose. When we look at a Josh Osich, when we look at a Cody Hall and Edwin Escobar, who we got a great look at last night, we can see the future.
Yeah, and Escobar, I mean, he was great as we record this on a Friday before a game against Bowie. Escobar went 6 2/3 innings, and Wes, I think you and I talked off air a little bit. The key number for him, he struck out 7. He didn't walk anybody, and that's something the Squirrels haven't had a lot of.
Josh Osich, Wes, he has a huge arm from the left side. Unfortunately, due to some injuries, the Giants had to slowly bring him along, but we're seeing those gloves come off.
We are, and we're seeing it on his own account. He came out in his first appearance and threw only fastballs. He quickly realized that that's not going to cut it. He worked in his changeup, and he said to you in a pregame interview, he said when he got out there, he threw his good pitches, and guys were fouling him off, and that kind of came as a surprise. And then he learned quickly you can't make a mistake. He's worked some stuff in, and you saw him Tuesday night pitch very well against Binghamton.
Speaking of mistakes, Cody Hall made one mistake in Bowie that inflated his ERA, but otherwise he's been very impressive. But what I've really appreciated about both Hall and Osich, as you mentioned, Wes, Osich talking about needing to improve. And although Hall, outside of that one pitch, which turned into a 3-run home run, he wants to work on things. You can see him seeking out Ross Grimsley at the diamond and asking, is this moving? Is this doing this? That's the mark of a guy who knows that he's been very good but needs to be better, Jay.
Yeah, and that's the mark of two guys that are going to need to be good in late inning situations. And they have in Hall and Osich. And now you add in Edwin Escobar, who's on the Giants' 40-man roster. He's one of the top prospects in the system. He has an electric fastball, 90-plus miles an hour. So when you start to see some of that talent get infused with some of the players that have already been stalwarts in this lineup, Mark Minikazi, the reemergence of Joe Panik, who had a dormant June and early July, you start to see what this team once was, and that was a first-place club.
They were, as we talked about, and we look ahead, not because we want to look beyond the rest of the season, and back into that in a moment, but guys, we look at this wave of pitching talent. The Giants have talked about it publicly. We've been waiting for it. The 3 pitchers that we just talked about are the tip of the iceberg. Look at that rotation, at least on paper, that you might have here in April next year.
And you look at a guy like Kyle Crick, #1 prospect out of Texas, in his second full season. This is a guy who did not start pitching late until his high school career, but he's working on the fastball, he's working on the breaking ball, needs to come around on a couple other pitches. But this is a guy who, right now, I mean, anytime you compare a guy to Matt Cain, that's quite a compliment.
Well, maybe not this season, but of course Matt Cain coming off the year last year. And Jay, that's what they see in Kyle Crick. And although we've had some exceptional pitching here over the first 3 years of the season and some bright spots this year too, you've never had a frontline starter like Crick profiles to be.
No, and it's exciting. He's a top 50 prospect in all of minor league baseball according to Baseball America. And it's not just Crick. There's some other guys coming through, Ty Block and Blackburn as well. And hey, let's be honest, this is the strength of the Giants organization. We talked about it before the season started. Hey, it's going to be fun to see some dingers this year. We've seen some home runs from Adam Duvall, Javier Herrera, Mark Minikazi. But the Giants, what they do best is developing pitching, and some of that pitching is along the way. We're starting to see the edge of it right now with Escobar, Osich, and Hall.
And it'll be interesting to see if you get that diversity of a guy like Crick and Blackburn, where Crick is your fastball, breaking ball guy, and Blackburn is a guy who induces more ground balls.
And also, we might get a look this year at Ty Block. I know they've talked about him coming up here, but I think he'll certainly start the year here next year. I think Edwin Escobar will as well. I think Crick's a certainty barring injury, as is Clayton Blackburn. So already we sit here in July of 2013, and you already have that road ahead, and I think that's something that's been missing in the Giants organization. All right, let's go back to this year, because again, certainly there's a ton of talent on this Flying Squirrels team. We didn't quite expect what we've seen from 30-year-old Mark Minikazi. He's got a legitimate shot, guys, at being the MVP of this league.
Yeah, to be the MVP of the Eastern League, you really have to be here for 2.5 or 3 months, and it looks like Minikazi's going to be here for the entire season. So 1, he has that going for him. 2, he leads the league in hits. 3, he's just been a dominant force in each and every series. So other teams that see him, those are the teams that vote for MVP, the managers, the coaches, the media. I think he's got a great shot at achieving that.
And the consistency that he showed.
Yeah.
I mean, he's shown it throughout the entire year, so every team has seen what Mark Minikazi can do.
Mark Minikazi obviously having a successful season. Some of the other guys in the prospects, you have to look beyond some of the surface numbers. What does Andrew Susac and Joe Panik need to do to finish their years and make it overall a success?
I think for Panik, you just got to slow it down. You know, every fan wants to see this team win, but these guys are here for development. If he slows it down, if he gets back to his game, gets back to the development at second base and at the plate, he could be in Fresno. Good chance he'll be in Fresno next year.
I think they move all those guys, Adam Duvall and Joe Panik. I think despite the fact, Jay, that the numbers aren't quite where you'd want them, they've shown enough.
Yeah, I would. I mean, what's the difference? Even AAA can be a more friendly hitter's ballpark, and I might even lump Andrew Susac into that mix, a guy who we thought might not even start the season here at AA, an all-star catcher for the Squirrels. He missed a little bit of time this season with an injury to his finger, but he halts the running game. He's able to take good at-bats. He's a well enough offensive catcher to go beyond this level, and I think you see those 3 guys kind of emerge to AAA Fresno next year.
here. Squirrels in a huge stretch right now. They're wrapping up a 5-game series with the Bowie Bay Sox and then back on the road, 2 Western Division opponents, both in front of them, the Erie Seawolves, the Akron Arrows. My general point is this. It's not too late. The Squirrels have put themselves in a huge hole, but they're not out of the running for a playoff spot this year. What do they need to do to get there?
Hey, we've been talking about it all year long during the swoon for the Squirrels. It's Joe Panik, and Joe Panik is back, and hey, he's going to join us here on set, so we'll just pump him up a little bit more. He went 6 for 12 in that series against the Binghamton Mets with 3 doubles. Your number 2 hitter, your consistent guy day in and day out in the lineup. Panik starts getting things going, then the lineup starts to look like that formidable force that we talked about ad nauseum earlier on in the season.
Still need more pitching, though, Wes.
It does, and you've got a guy like Jack Snodgrass who gives you a chance to win when he's out there. Chris Glore does the same. Edwin Escobar, that's a promising performance that we saw last night. It's when the other guys are out there. You know, Wes Scott's out there. Taylor Rogers is out there. You need those guys to give you a little bit more. You need the bullpen to step up, and you need the offense to keep producing.
And I think at this point for the Flying Squirrels, although there's still some projects in the bullpen, they have enough of those arms that they trust should they build leads that they should be able to hold them better than they've been able to thus far this year. And again, we go back to Hall, Osich, and bring back a Phil McCormick and Edwin Quirarte, who, oh, by the way, both all-stars in the Eastern League this year. Another guy that was an all-star, Joe Panik, is about to join us here. We got him up early, and we feel badly about that, but not badly enough not to do it. Joe's had quite a season transitioning to second base. He's done it with aplomb. He's going to show you how he goes up the middle and makes that play behind the second base bag. But before he does that, we're going to get his thoughts on playing closer to home, including for the first time playing in his native state of New York in Binghamton. Joe Panik, the Flying Squirrels all-star second baseman, with us as FSI continues right after this. Welcome back to Flying Squirrels Insider as we now welcome in Flying Squirrels all-star second baseman Joe Panik, gracious enough to be here after another long day of travel. And Joe, thanks for joining us today, man. We do appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Sean.
Just got back, in fact, from your native state of New York. It was a bit of a long bus ride, but I have to imagine it was fun for you for the first time to play as a professional in your home state.
Yeah, it was great to be back in New York and, was able to see some family and, a couple friends, from the area. And, we played well, and I had a good little series, so everything kind of worked out well.
You did have a good series with the bat, and there is a reason behind that maybe most people don't know about. Please elaborate.
All right, so before the first game during batting practice, John, our trainer LJ, and our strength coach Brad got to take batting practice, and I was struggling.
Hitting display.
Yes, a hitting display. I'm sorry. Yes, it was like you on the driving range, just beautiful. But so I was struggling up to this point. So I was like, Blaze, can you take my bat and get some hits in it? And sure enough, he hits a few line drives during batting practice.
Graciously stated.
Oh no, I would not lie. I would not lie. So during the game, I got 2 hits. The first game, second game, another 2 hits. Third game, another 2 hits. And the only thing I could think of is what changed in series is he used the bat.
I'm going to take that credit because I get blamed a lot when things go poorly for guys with the jinx and whatnot on the radio pregame interview. So I'm going to take that. But no, in all sincerity, you did start to turn it around. Had a great offensive series up against Binghamton. This team started to turn it around as well. You got off to a great start this year. Hit a bit of a lull in the middle of the season. How important is it for you to finish with a flurry?
Yeah, it's always how you finish. That's how I looked at it last year. And it's a long season. And I guess over the season you can go through little lulls and just hit tough stretches, and now it's it's time to kind of kick it into gear. And we got 6-7 weeks left, and we still got some time to make up ground in the playoff run. And that's what it's about. Try to play good baseball at the end.
I know that the guys in the clubhouse look at you as a leader, not necessarily with your words, but by your play. What have you learned this year as this team has gone through some tough stretches and you've had to deal with leading a team through adversity?
Yeah, we've had some tough stretches, to say the least, but the key to that is try not to panic. Yeah,
see?
No pun intended.
He's an entertainer.
But yeah, that's the thing. You just try to stay as even keel as possible because guys will there'll be some eruptions and this and that, but the key is to try to minimize those and try to keep guys thinking positive and moving forward instead of looking backwards. And hopefully now we're getting on a little stretch. 3 games in a row. Took the series up against Binghamton, first place team. Hopefully now we can start getting things rolling again going forward.
You go into this season and Baseball America tabs you as the #2 prospect in the Giants organization. I know you don't put a ton of stock into that, but what pressures come with that being labeled a guy?
Yeah, there's extra pressures because that not only only the expectations you have, but that the Giants organization and all the front office people and everybody has for you. So there's always those pressures to perform, but when you go out there still playing baseball, it's a little cliche, but it's true. And pretty much the hardest person is always myself, expectation-wise.
And Joe was also tabbed by many as the Flying Squirrels, or excuse me, the San Francisco Giants second baseman of the future. And I imagine that had to be somewhat difficult. You're going to show us how to go to your right from second base today, but that's something you had to learn going into the season as well. Yeah,
that was something I had to kind of learn on the fly, and just being a shortstop, that kind of helped. Kind of with the different angles and different throws. So, I'll try to put on a little display for you guys and show you how it's done.
Well, we're going to do that in just a second as we're joined by Flying Squirrels second baseman Joe Panik. But real quickly before we do, Joe, the Giants still want you to play a little short. Has that been difficult? You do that about once a week. You make it look pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how easy I make it look. But it's
easy, I wouldn't lie.
True. But, I mean, it's kind of a little difficult going back to shortstop when you're used to, the easier throw at second base. Got to crank up the old arm a little bit, but, when it all comes down to it, it's all about angles, and, it's like riding a bike. After the first couple games playing at short, kind of got back into the flow of it. But, like I said, now it's just a matter of waking up the arm once in a while.
All right, all you budding middle infielders, grab your gloves, come back, and all-star second baseman Joe Panik's going to show you how to make the play up the middle from the second base position. That's ahead as Joe Panik stays with us on Flying Squirrels Insider.
And now it's time for more dugout thoughts with Chris Glore.
The other day, a bee came buzzing around the dugout. A bunch of my teammates started swatting at him and running away screaming. But not me. I smiled to myself and thought about all the honey he could make. An inning later, he came back and landed on the bench. This time I was ready and trapped him in a jar so he could live with us in the clubhouse. I named him Buzz Lightyear and tucked him in my locker after the game. The next day, I came back and he was dead. I forgot to poke holes in the jar. I was sad for a minute, but then I realized I could just buy honey at the store. Turns out, I like the stuff the plastic bear makes better anyway.
Welcome back to FSI Field. We have positioned all-star second baseman Joe Panik out at second base. And in just a second, he's going to show you how he makes the play up the middle to his right. But Joe, real quickly before we actually demonstrate this live, I just wanted you to talk about the play. What goes into making it as you go to your right or the backhand side?
Basically what goes into it is, you read, what type of, the hitter, what the hitter does and what kind of pitch is coming. Like if, let's say a lefty's hitting and it's an outside pitch, there's a chance he hits it up the middle instead of pulling it. So you kind of anticipate. So once the ball comes, to the plate, you hit, ball's coming. You try to, grab, get down low, grab the ball off your left foot, regain your balance with your right, jump off your left and throw to first.
All right, now you've had to make this play going left this season as the shortstop and also, as you just demonstrated, to the right as second baseman. Which side's easier for you to make that play from?
I'd probably say going to the left as a shortstop just because, you have a better angle to throw, whereas going to your right as a second baseman, all your momentum is taking you out into left field and you have to kind of spin and throw at like a 180 degree.
See, I told you it was easy for Adrianza. Joe's the one doing all the real work over there. Exactly. All right, let's show you why. Here we go, Joe. We're going to do this once slow and just take us through the steps and then the launch, really, that is necessary to make the throw. Okay. Here it comes, scorcher back up the middle.
Try to grab it off your left foot, regain your balance with the right, step again, and jump off your left and throw. Hopefully, good throw.
That was a good throw, right on the numbers to our actually a left-handed first baseman there, Jay Burnham. Now, are you actually counting your steps, or is that something that just becomes muscle memory at some point?
It just becomes natural muscle memory. Just doing it over the years and stuff, you kind of just get used to the feel of, when you're running full speed, it just comes natural grabbing it off your left foot, and then it's just natural to you try to regain your balance, and then your next step is you're launching, and then you have to release it quick.
Well, let's do it a little bit quicker so you see that natural play from Joe Panik, not thinking about it at all this time. Here it comes. That one's actually even a bit more up the middle, and as you can see, he just goes through the steps without counting them that time. And as you can see, that play is something that you learn, and then it becomes natural, and for the first time ever, we're going to have Joe Panik do that play one more time for you as we wrap up the program today. So Joe Panik going to get it. First and foremost, a big thanks to Joe as we close out Flying Squirrels Insider today, making time for us after a tough week of travel for the Flying Squirrels. Also, of course, thanks to my co-hosts Wes McElroy and Jay Burnham, and a big thanks to first-time director today, Bryant Dameron. We've always appreciated his efforts, and he puts the show together today. For everybody associated with Flying Squirrels Baseball and FSI, I'm Jon Laaser saying until the next time, we'll talk to you here from FSI Field.
Production funding for Flying Squirrels Insider is made possible in part by the GMC Terrain, available at your local GMC dealer. We are professional grade.